The morning sun cast long shadows across the courtyard of Kensington Palace as Sergeant Marcus Williams adjusted his earpiece and checked his watch. 8 years of military service in Afghanistan had taught him to notice details others missed. The way a bird suddenly stopped singing. How the wind carried unfamiliar scents. The subtle shift in a person's breathing that meant danger was coming. Today felt different. Princess Charlotte was scheduled for her weekly riding lesson in Hyde Park, followed by a charity visit to a local children's hospital. At 9 years old, she had already shown the same fearless spirit that ran in the royal bloodline. Marcus admired that about her, even as it made his job protecting her infinitely more challenging. He stood 6 feet tall with broad shoulders that filled out his dark suit perfectly. His brown eyes constantly scanned the environment, a habit that had kept him alive during 3 tours of duty. The transition from military service to royal protection had been natural for Marcus. Both required absolute dedication, split-second decision-making, and the willingness to put someone else's life before your own. Princess Charlotte emerged from the palace wearing her riding gear, her blonde hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She carried herself with the confidence of someone born into royalty, yet there was a warmth in her smile that reminded Marcus why the British public adored her. Her personal protection officer, Inspector Sarah Chun, walked beside her reviewing the day's schedule on her tablet. "Good morning, Sergeant Williams," Princess Charlotte said cheerfully. She had insisted on learning the names of all her protection officers, treating them with respect rather than as invisible servants. "Good morning, Your Royal Highness," Marcus replied with a slight bow. "Beautiful day for riding." The princess nodded enthusiastically. "Moonlight has been eager to get out. I think she's getting restless in the stables." She spoke about her horse with genuine affection, another trait that endeared her to those around her. Inspector Chin approached Marcus with her usual professional demeanor. At 42, she had spent 15 years in royal protection and had developed an almost supernatural ability to anticipate potential threats. Her black hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her sharp eyes missed nothing. "The route to Hyde Park is clear," she informed Marcus quietly. "Local police have swept the area twice this morning. We have plainclothes officers positioned at key points along the riding path." She paused, checking her notes. "However, there's been some unusual activity around the hospital. Nothing concrete, just increased social media chatter about the princess's visit." Marcus frowned slightly. Social media had become a double-edged sword for royal security. It allowed the public to feel connected to the royal family, but it also made planning attacks much easier. Every public appearance was broadcast in advance, giving potential threats time to prepare. "What kind of chatter?" he asked. "Mostly harmless excitement about meeting the princess," Chen replied. "But there are a few accounts that concern us. Anonymous profiles asking detailed questions about security procedures, arrival times, specific locations within the hospital. Could be overeager fans, could be something more serious." The princess had finished checking her riding equipment and was ready to leave. Marcus fell into step beside the royal vehicle, a specially modified Range Rover with bulletproof glass and reinforced steel plating. His trained eyes swept the street as they departed the palace grounds. The drive to Hyde Park took 20 minutes through London's busy morning traffic. Marcus sat in the front passenger seat, maintaining constant radio contact with the advanced security team. The princess chatted excitedly with Inspector Chun about her upcoming exams and her plans for the summer holidays. Her innocence and enthusiasm reminded Marcus why his job mattered so much. Hyde Park's riding grounds had been transformed into a secure area for the princess's lesson. Temporary barriers kept curious onlookers at a safe distance while still allowing them to catch glimpses of the young royal. Marcus positioned himself where he could observe both the princess and the surrounding crowd. Princess Charlotte mounted Moonlight with practiced ease. Her riding instructor, Mrs. Elizabeth Hartwell, had been teaching members of the royal family for over 20 years. She understood the unique challenges of conducting lessons under such intense security scrutiny while still providing proper instruction. "Remember to keep your heels down, Your Royal Highness," Mrs. Hartwell called out as the princess began her warm-up routine. "And maintain steady contact with Moonlight's mouth through the reins." Marcus watched the lesson with one eye while scanning the crowd with the other. Most spectators were tourists taking photos and families with children who were excited to see a real princess. A group of teenage girls held homemade signs with messages of support. An elderly man in a military uniform stood at attention, likely a veteran showing respect to the royal family. Everything appeared normal until Marcus noticed a man in his 30s wearing a dark jacket despite the warm weather. The stranger kept checking his phone and looking around nervously. More concerning was his position near the back exit of the riding area, away from other spectators who naturally gravitated toward the front for better views. Marcus spoke quietly into his radio microphone. "Control, this is Alpha 1. I have a possible person of interest. Adult male, approximately 35 years old, dark jacket, position near the rear exit. Requesting background check." The response came quickly through his earpiece. "Alpha 1, we're running facial recognition now. Continue observation, but do not approach unless he makes a threatening move." The riding lesson continued for another 30 minutes. Princess Charlotte demonstrated her improving skills by successfully completing a series of jumps that would have challenged riders twice her age. The crowd applauded appreciatively, and she waved graciously in response. As the lesson concluded, Marcus noticed the suspicious man had disappeared. He immediately radioed for an update on the facial recognition search while positioning himself closer to the princess. "Sergeant Williams," Princess Charlotte called out as she dismounted from Moonlight. "Did you see that last jump? Mrs. Hartwell says I'm ready to try higher obstacles next week." "Very impressive, Your Royal Highness," Marcus replied genuinely. He had grown fond of the princess over the months he had been assigned to her protection detail. Her enthusiasm for life and genuine kindness toward others reminded him why the royal family remained important to so many British citizens. Inspector Chin appeared at his shoulder with an update. The facial recognition came back clean. No criminal record, no known associations with extremist groups. His name is David Morrison, works as an accountant in central London. Probably just a curious bystander. Marcus nodded, but remained alert. His military experience had taught him that sometimes the most dangerous threats appeared completely ordinary. As they prepared to leave Hyde Park for the hospital visit, he made mental notes about exit routes and potential cover positions. The journey to St. Mary's Children's Hospital took them through some of London's busiest neighborhoods. Princess Charlotte reviewed her notes about the children she would be meeting, asking Inspector Chun about their conditions and interests. Her genuine concern for others was one of her most admirable qualities. "There's a 7-year-old girl named Emma who loves horses," the princess said excitedly. "I want to tell her about Moonlight and maybe arrange for her to visit the stables when she's feeling better." Marcus smiled slightly at her enthusiasm while maintaining his vigilant watch of the surrounding traffic. The hospital had been secured hours earlier, but crowds of well-wishers and media had gathered outside the main entrance. This always created additional security challenges as excitement and unpredictability increased. As they approached St. Mary's, Marcus could see the crowd had grown larger than expected. News of the princess's visit had spread throughout the day, drawing more people than the advanced security team had anticipated. Hospital staff had set up barriers to create a clear path from the vehicle to the entrance, but the enthusiasm of the crowd was making people push against the boundaries. "Control, this is Alpha 1, Marcus radioed. Crowd size is significantly larger than anticipated. Requesting additional support for crowd management. Alpha 1, we have additional units en route. Estimated arrival in 10 minutes. Marcus made a quick decision. We should wait for the backup before proceeding. Too many variables with this crowd size. Inspector Chin agreed immediately. Princess Charlotte, overhearing their conversation, showed her maturity by understanding the situation without complaint. The children have been looking forward to this visit all week, she said thoughtfully. Is there anything we can do to make sure we still get to meet them? We'll find a way, Your Royal Highness, Marcus assured her. Safety first, but we won't disappoint those children if we can help it. While they waited for backup, Marcus studied the crowd more carefully. Most people were families with children, hospital staff on their breaks, and curious passers-by. However, his attention was drawn to a delivery van parked across the street from the hospital's main entrance. The van appeared normal except for one detail that bothered him. The driver remained in the vehicle instead of making his delivery. Marcus focused his binoculars on the van while radioing his observations to the control center. The driver appeared to be watching the hospital entrance intently, occasionally speaking into what looked like a radio or cell phone. This behavior pattern triggered every alarm bell Marcus's military training had installed in his mind. Control, I need an immediate background check on a white delivery van. License plate number. Marcus read off the registration number while keeping the vehicle under surveillance. The response came back within minutes, and it confirmed Marcus's worst fears. Alpha 1. That van was reported stolen 3 hours ago from a depot in East London. The owner has no scheduled deliveries to that area today. Marcus felt his heart rate increase as training and experience took over. A stolen van positioned to observe a royal visit was not a coincidence. He immediately began coordinating with Inspector Chun while trying not to alarm Princess Charlotte. We need to relocate immediately, he told Chun quietly. That van is stolen and positioned for surveillance or worse. This whole situation feels wrong. Inspector Chin agreed without hesitation. She had learned to trust Marcus's instincts over the months they had worked together. His military background and natural protective instincts had prevented problems before they became serious threats. Your Royal Highness, Inspector Chun said calmly to Princess Charlotte, we're going to change our approach to the hospital. We'll use a side entrance that will be quieter and more comfortable for your visit with the children. Princess Charlotte nodded understandingly. At 9 years old, she had already learned that security requirements sometimes meant sudden plan changes. Her maturity and flexibility made protection work much easier for her security team. As their vehicle began to move toward an alternate route, Marcus kept the suspicious van under observation. His worst fears were confirmed when the van immediately started its engine and began following their new path. This was definitely not a coincidence or curious bystander. Control, the suspect van is now following our vehicle. We have a confirmed threat situation. Initiating evasive protocols immediately. The next few minutes would test every skill Marcus had learned during his military service and royal protection training. Princess Charlotte's safety depended on the decisions he made in the next critical moments as an ordinary hospital visit transformed into something far more dangerous.